Hi everybody, just wanted to give you a quick little tutorial on the Dreambox dashboard and also show you quickly how to print your username and password cards for your students. So once you log into Dreambox, you'll come to your dashboard. It'll look a little bit different than mine, but so you won't have maybe the district reports necessarily, but you should have classroom reports, manage students, my account, those types of things. First place I'm going to have you start is in manage students. It should take you automatically to your classroom. I can see all the classrooms as the district admin, but you should be able to see all your classrooms. A couple of things you'll notice: this is the link that'll send your students directly to Dreambox on the computer. This is the code that they enter in one time on the iPad. I've entered this in on all the break-apart iPads, so those should be all set up. Any of the larger carts of 25, this would need to be added one time, but then it'll stick. These are some of the other settings that that Sarah had talked about during our training. And then there's your class list. So the way it's been set up is that grades K4 through first grade have been set up with a picture password. That's the default, and picture passwords have not been created for them yet. They have the ability to choose their password the first time they log in. So you notice right now that there's no selected password. You as a teacher, on the other hand, can go ahead and pick their password for them. Depending on how you want to set that up, it might be easier for you. And I'll show you in a little bit when we create the cards if that's what you want to do. So you could select them if you want. They also do not have user IDs because they will select their name from a list when they go on the computer or to the iPad. So if you were to change that, they can have text passwords, then they would have a username, and then they would enter in a password. If you notice here, excuse me about that, you can click on these names. So if a name was spelled incorrectly, I pulled this list off of the summer school list that I got from the office, but if name was spelled incorrectly, you could change it here. Also, I guessed at their gender based on their name, so if I put the wrong gender down, you can do that. The grade is held at the grade that they just left, and so that's the way it kind of follows through for all the students. I'm going to go up here to, so once they get to second grade, students will then have a username and a password. And in some cases, and what it looks like is it's their first name and their last letter. In some cases, if their name had a apostrophe or something in that might be in there. So you could also click on that and take out any apostrophes to make it easier for them to enter in their username and password. One of the other things that you had asked about, it's a file that I attached with the email I sent you, but to invite parents, that home access, that is right here. And if you click on that, you can also download it, but I've included it in my email. So the one thing that you're going to want to do probably is set up some username and password cards. And I've sent you a template that you can use. All you have to do is import the username and passwords from an Excel sheet. I've made that kind of easy for you, hopefully. To get the username and passwords in an Excel sheet, if you go to Classroom Reports, and you scroll down to class roster, you can click on that, and then that'll bring up all of the information for the students. And if you see here Excel spreadsheet, you can export this to an Excel spreadsheet, which then we'll put into the file I sent you. And so when I was talking with K4 through first on how they don't have passwords yet, if we look at a first grade classroom here, you'll notice it's not selected. So if you choose to go ahead and select those ahead of time for your students, they will then show up. Otherwise, you can have them select on their first time through, then come back and export this, and then create your password cards if you'd like to. You can also then always refer back to this to your sheet so that you know if a student picked their own password and they don't remember what it is, you can always go check for them. But for right now, I'm just going to pick a class with usernames and passwords, and you're going to want to export this from an Excel to Excel spreadsheet. Should ask you to save it. If it doesn't, it probably is going to save right to your downloads, but I would suggest if you save it someplace easy. I'm just going to save it to the desktop. It's just called the name of the classroom roster report. I'm going to save that. And there it is. You don't actually need to open up this file. There's nothing in it that we're going to actually do anything with. We're just going to import information from it. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you want to go to that file that I sent you called Dreambox password cards. You open that up, and it's going to say that it's looking for the data to import, but it's looking for the data that I originally imported, which you don't want. You want your own data. So we're going to say no to that. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to look for the file that you just downloaded. So we're going to go into mailings, and we're going to select the recipients. We're going to use an existing list. And that's going to be the list that we just downloaded. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to find that file that I just downloaded, double click that, and it will then now pop in my information. These are all the headings. Right now you see all the headings that are in the Excel sheet. If I go to preview results, it'll now show me all of the different information. So what it's going to include is it's going to include a first and a last name. It's going to include the username and their password, and this will show up on every card, which is the school code. So if by some chance somebody removes our school from the iPad, that card is, or that number, school code is still right there. So once you're done with that, you can go to finish and merge, and I would say go to print, edit the individual documents. What that's going to do, say okay. It's going to create a separate sheet. It's going to create a separate sheet for you, and so then what you can do is you can look through and see all of the cards. And if you feel like one is maybe one of the names was too long that it doesn't fit on there, you could highlight it and shrink it down. But these all look good. So then from there you can print these, and you can also save them so that you have them in case one of the students loses the card. So that's how you do it. So if you're in K4 through first grade and you are going to let your students select their passwords after the first day when they've all selected their picture passwords, then you can go back in and download that report here, going to the Excel, and then those, so for like a first grade classroom, those will then show up, and then you can go ahead and print those off as well. If you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, I have all of the Dreambox school codes put into the break apart pads. It would just need to be done on the larger sets, and hopefully that won't be too much of a problem on the first day. But again, let me know if you have any questions, and that would be it. Thanks.